Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess Wise. Today we are at the next lesson of our series Learn from the World Champions. We are going to see a very exciting game here. A double Fianchetto used against the Caro defense, and let's see. Strong players this case, both of them. Of course, one is world champion. So let's get started with the game and let's reach the critical position. E4, C6, Caro defense, white goes B3. Anyway, black is going to get D5. White tries to control the squares E5 with the bishop on B2, and maybe in some cases he can do G3, BG2. Black does D5, E takes D5, C takes D5, BB2 controlling E5. Black plays in C6, idea is to go E5. Here NF3 is considered a bit better, but maybe black can do BG4 and still establish E5. So white goes G3. A modern concept used in a classical game. White wants BG2, let black build the center and then attack with his pieces on the black center. Very interesting play. Here black could have played simple classically after E5, BG2. Best for black is to go NF6, play normally, not commit the moves D4 and E4 because this is what white wants. Let black build the center, then break it with the move D4 or C4. Okay, so black played B6. The reason is many people try to trade one of the Fianchetto bishops with QD7 and then BH3 when the G1 knight moves. White doesn't move the knight instantly. First he goes Queen E2, displacing the black queen to C7, and then he will look to play NF3. Maybe black should have played the move F6 here itself, but it looks like after F6 maybe there is F4. So it looks little risky. So because E6 bishop hangs. Black played QC7, white goes NF3, see tempting black to go E4. E4 clearly mistaken because of knight G5. White is ready to sacrifice a pawn after NB4, C2 is hanging, but after knight A3, knight C2, QC2, white has the very simple bishop C3, cutting off the black queen to the white's territory, and see now QB5 will be there no matter what. One threat is NE6 followed by QB5, and if NF6 then to see QB5 check, BD7 and then QB7, multiple threats. The rook is hanging, white can consider BF6 followed by NF7 and take on D7. Maybe black is forced to go rook D8, but you can see it's a bad game because BF6 is there, Queen D5, NF7, multiple things. Just castle rook A7 is also super. So apart from BA5, so white is almost winning here. After the move BD6 too, there is the move knight G5. Once again same trouble. E6 is coming under fire. Maybe white will take on E6 and break with F4. So F6 absolutely necessary. White castles. Knight bishop D6. Black develops because he wants to get the G knight to E7. A critical position has arisen. What would you do as white here? White rightly looks to break the center with D4 because E6 bishop hangs. But see the precision. First NC3 threatening NB5 to snatch the D6 bishop, and after forcing A6, now white goes D4. Simple and very effective play. Soon DE, FE will make the pawns on D5 and D5 hanging pawns, means there are no supporters to the pair of isolated, means none of them are isolated, but there are no pawns next to them. So those are called hanging pawns, and white will look to pressurize them with pieces. Black goes in E7. If E4, then there is a tactical blow. Knight takes E4, D takes E4, Queen E4. See, very obvious stuff. Look at the position. Already move 13. Black hasn't castled. And see, E6 hangs. Only move QE7. And to QE7, there is no D5 because of bishop F7. Queen takes queen, then the C knight escapes. But see, RAE1. Simply protecting the queen. Threatening D5, if BF7 then the queen just can move to D3. So this is winning for white. So black goes NE7, now white takes on E5, setting some small traps. See, the logical moves fail here, most logical being FE, but then see knight G5. This is almost gone, bishop has to retreat to G8, and here BH3 is one good move, stopping long castle, knight would jump to E6. And there were some other moves as well, like interesting. Queen h3, g6, maybe queen h3 also. After ne5 there is the very simple knight d4. See, the d5 pawn has become isolated and you can see the problems here. White is already threatening the dangerous f4. If the bishop moves, then f4, and as soon as the e5 knight moves, you see knight into d5 or bd5, the e7 knight is pinned and the pawn on d5 is lost. So basically this forces black to take with the bishop here, and the bishop would be taken knight e5, f takes e5, once again queen e5, rf e1 is very bad, e6 would hang, queen e2, re2, then the rooks are getting doubled, at least the pawn on d5 would be lost, or ba3 may even cost the piece on e7. So f takes e5, typically the position white wanted. White has the bishop pair and the center pawns will be harassed. White wants one of the pawn to move and the neighboring square. If d4, then e4 is weak. If black goes e4, then d4 falls in his hand. This is generally the plan against the hanging pawns. So rook a d1 here, pressurizing d5. Now black is almost compelled to go castle. Rook d8 is just waste of move. Amongst many things, white can consider knight a4 like in the game. Long castle, rook f1, bringing more attacks on e5. Right now e5 is protected, so black goes with h5. He has the luxury of a move here. He is intending to go h4. White ignores. He plays knight a4. Play has become very sharp. See, this is a typical play with pieces against the center pawns, and here is the factor of opposite side castle. Piece play versus pawn storm also ensuing. Very sharp play. Black accepts the challenge and see, he plays e4. Right now see, e4 is necessary. h4 would just allow be5. And after e4, see, white has a very strong move. Can you find the move? There is a deep calculation here. Due to the pin on the e5, white breaks with f3, although he allows h4 and h takes g3 here. So h4, and see the calculation, fe4, hg, d4 was perhaps best. I think black missed one of the lines which white saw. So there was nc5, and see after qd6 there is some play, but still I would say that white is somewhat better. H takes d3 and e takes d5. See, you can feel that the piece on d5 is lost, because after some trades there will be queen e6 check and rook takes d5. But here is the catch. When we take on d5, rook d5, queen e6 is there, there can come rook d8 and the see e1 rook is hanging. What about that line? That is a very tricky position. Let's say if gh2 kh1, this is like almost same like in the game, this position. We can have black played gh2 later. See here to knight d5, queen e6 check, kb8, rook d5, but there is rook d8. Do check out this line, calculate in detail and decide should we play bd5. So see, bd5, white goes bd5. Let us see what happens. After rook d5, there is the simple queen e6 check, kb8, and see, we will capture on d5, rook d5, knight d5, qd5, and because of the threat of be5, white is winning. gh2 same, kh1, be5 is very dangerous. So black goes nd5 here, and after nd5, queen e6 check, and see first qd7 loses on the spot due to the fork on the c8, d7 and the d5 squares. Just see qd7, rd7, and b6 is controlled by the knight, so destroying the defender, and takes check, and the rook is regained, so white remains a piece up. So kd8, and this line I want you to check whether rook d5, rook d8 is good for white, and if yes, what would be your next move after rook e8. So see, white saw further rook d5, rook d8, and he went with the very important move. See, only move. Many a times what happens, the weaker players, they see the line, they are not very serious about it, and they realize that once they enter the line, it is clear that it is in fact not winning but losing. Okay, so that is the difference in the play. Mostly in the master games, there is some kind of imbalance. Easily the blunders will not happen. So queen e8, re8, re8 check, king a7 forced, and white to play and win. what would you do as white? White saw the terrific move rook d8, the killer blow. The knight on c6 was the overloaded piece guarding d8 and d4. Now see, if knight d8, we see the move bd4 check, king 8, king wants to be on the white squares, nb6, kb8, be5, and the queen is lost. Queen e5, just re5 is simple. And you must note that gh2, king h1 would just transpose back to the game. So black played b6, the only move, stopping the move bd4. And now see, white uses the other weakness, the rank, 7th rank here with bishop a3. This move had to be seen while playing rook d8. Now see, gh2, king h1, black has no defense whatsoever. If the queen moves away, there are problems. We'll see that there is either rook d7 or rook e7. If a5, according to white, this was the only move. See, Richard Reti is black here, such a strong player, getting demolished. Here comes the knight c3, and see, there is hardly any defense to either knight b5, rook d7 or rook a8. All cannot be stopped. Let us see one by one. To qg3 or qf4, there is a similar play. Rook d7 check, k6, rook a8, knight a7, ra7 mates. To kb7 too, there is knight b5, first driving the queen away. Very similar position. Rook d7, king a8. This time see, the knight is hanging. So see, just rook a8, kb5. But see, c4, queen has to be given up with q, c4. Otherwise it's mate. And finally king a6, and then to see rook a8 check. If knight a7, then see rook e7 wins on the spot. And if kb7, there is the killer move, rook a7 check. King cannot take because of knight b5 fork, and see knight a7, then re7. See, this point I mentioned in the previous game also. Once the position becomes winning, short tactical lines are very, very important. So see, here after queen e7, be7, white is just having an extra piece. Even the h2 pawn would be lost. So black plays queen f7 here. Perhaps the only try. Threatens queen f3, queen f2, queen f1. But see, white had seen a forced win here. There is a forced mate after the move re7. Means qe7, be7 was forced, where he would be rook down after rd7. So black played nd7, but see, a mating net viewed with rook, knight and bishop. As I told before in my earlier lessons, any three pieces can mate. See the pattern here. Rook d7, king a8, knight b6, kb8, bd6, and it's checkmate. Had black gone kb8 first, then also bd6, kc8 and b6 would be the reverse order to go for the mate. Terrific game by Max Euwe here. Max Euwe was the 5th world champion after Alekhine. Do let me know how you found this lesson in the comments below. Thanks for your time.